Ladies and gentlemen, today let us dive into a subject that strikes at the very core of how we navigate relationships, communication, and self-worth. Let me be clear, this isn't a call to abandon kindness, compassion, or understanding. Instead, it's a call to redefine these virtues in a way that empowers you rather than diminishes you. Niceness is a quality often celebrated as a virtue, one that reflects kindness, politeness, and consideration for others. However, the way niceness is commonly understood and practiced can often become a burden rather than a strength. For many, especially women, being nice is equated with being agreeable at all costs, compromising one's boundaries, downplaying one's needs, and suppressing one's authentic self to keep the peace or gain approval. This form of niceness, while outwardly attractive, often leads to a disconnection from one's true desires and a diminished sense of self-worth. At its core, niceness should not require self-betrayal. Instead of being a mere mask of compliance, it can be redefined as an extension of kindness that exists in harmony with authenticity. Being truly nice does not mean saying yes when you want to say no, or avoiding difficult conversations for fear of making waves. Rather, it involves showing respect for yourself and others by being honest, assertive, and empathetic. In redefining niceness, the goal is not to abandon kindness, but to ensure that it is rooted in self-respect and truthfulness. The danger of conventional niceness lies in its tendency to prioritize external validation over internal alignment. In the effort to be perceived as agreeable or likable, people often suppress their true feelings and opinions. This leads to interactions that may appear smooth on the surface but lack depth and authenticity. Over time, this can result in frustration, resentment, and even a loss of identity, as the constant performance of niceness becomes a barrier to genuine self-expression. Redefining niceness requires a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing it as an obligation to please, it can be reframed as an opportunity to connect meaningfully. This means cultivating the courage to be honest about your needs and boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable. For example, saying no to a request doesn't make you unkind, it makes you honest. And honesty, when delivered with respect and empathy, creates a foundation for deeper trust and understanding. When you embrace this redefinition, you allow your niceness to coexist with strength. This doesn't mean being rude or harsh, it means that your kindness comes from a place of authenticity, rather than fear or guilt. For instance, offering help because you genuinely want to is vastly different from doing so out of obligation or the desire to avoid conflict. The former is empowering and fulfilling, while the latter often feels draining and inauthentic. Moreover, redefining niceness involves recognizing that you are not responsible for managing other people's feelings at the expense of your own. While empathy and consideration are important, they should not come at the cost of your well-being. Learning to balance kindness with self-respect ensures that you can show up in your relationships as your whole self, rather than a curated version designed to fit others' expectations. This approach also encourages others to engage with you more authentically. When you are honest about your boundaries and needs, you invite others to do the same. This creates relationships that are not based on superficial niceties, but on mutual respect and genuine connection. People value sincerity, even if it initially challenges their expectations. Redefining niceness requires practice and courage. It involves unlearning the deeply ingrained belief that being nice means always being agreeable or self-sacrificing. It means embracing discomfort and vulnerability as part of authentic living. Over time, this shift not only strengthens your relationships but also enhances your self-esteem as you learn to value yourself independently of external approval. In redefining niceness, you reclaim your ability to be kind without compromising who you are. It is a step toward living authentically and fostering connections that honor both your truth and the truths of those around you. By letting go of performative niceness, you allow yourself to build a life rooted in integrity, respect, and meaningful connection. Embracing authenticity is one of the most transformative shifts you can make in how you approach relationships in the world. It is about stepping into your true self, your passions, flaws, strengths, and fears without apology or pretense. Authenticity is not just about being honest, it's about living in alignment with your values and expressing your thoughts and feelings in a way that reflects who you are. This way of being brings depth, meaning, and freedom to your life and interactions. Many people are conditioned to prioritize being liked over being real. From an early age, we are often taught to suppress parts of ourselves to fit societal expectations or avoid conflict. The result is a version of ourselves curated for others' comfort or approval, rather than a reflection of our true essence. But living inauthentically comes at a cost. It can create feelings of disconnection, not only from others, but also from ourselves. When we prioritize being what others want us to be, we risk losing touch with our own needs, desires, and identity. Embracing authenticity means making the conscious decision to stop seeking validation from external sources and start seeking alignment with your internal truth. This does not mean disregarding others' feelings or being blunt to the point of rudeness. Instead, it means communicating your truth with courage and compassion. It means being willing to show up as you are, even if that means facing discomfort or rejection. One of the most profound aspects of authenticity is the freedom it brings. When you let go of the need to please everyone, you free yourself from the weight of constant performance. You no longer need to second-guess your actions or words, worrying about how they will be received. Instead, you can move through life with a sense of ease, knowing that you are being true to yourself. This freedom allows you to focus on what truly matters, building genuine connections and living a life that reflects your values. Authenticity also fosters trust and depth in relationships. When you show up as your true self, you create space for others to do the same. Relationships built on authenticity are grounded in mutual respect and understanding, rather than superficial niceties or unspoken resentments. But these connections are not always easy. They may involve difficult conversations or disagreements, but they are real and they are meaningful. Embracing authenticity requires vulnerability, which can feel intimidating. It means allowing others to see not just your strengths, but also your fears, insecurities, and imperfections. While this may seem risky, it is also incredibly empowering. Vulnerability is not a weakness, it is an act of courage. It shows that you value yourself enough to be seen as you are, without the need for masks or defenses. Living authentically does not mean that you will always be accepted or understood by everyone. In fact, embracing your true self may lead to some relationships falling away. This can be painful, but it is also necessary. When you stop pretending to be someone you're not, you attract people who value you for who you are. At the same time, you create the space for relationships that align with your values and aspirations. The journey toward authenticity is not always easy. It involves unlearning deeply ingrained habits and confronting fears of judgment or rejection. But it is a journey worth taking. Each step toward authenticity brings you closer to a life of integrity and fulfillment. It allows you to build relationships and experiences that resonate with your true self, rather than a persona designed for others' approval. In embracing authenticity, you reclaim your power. You stop seeking permission to be yourself and instead take ownership of your identity and choices. This is not just an act of self-love, it is also an act of liberation. By choosing authenticity, you choose a life of freedom, connection, and meaning. Setting clear boundaries is a vital practice for cultivating self-respect and creating meaningful relationships. Boundaries are not walls that isolate us from others, but bridges that allow for healthier and more authentic connections. They define what is acceptable and unacceptable in how others treat you, and they communicate your needs and limits with clarity and confidence. Far from being selfish or restrictive, boundaries are a way of honoring yourself and the people around you. Many people struggle with the concept of boundaries, often associating them with confrontation or rejection. This hesitation can stem from a fear of disappointing others or being perceived as difficult. Yet, without boundaries, relationships can become imbalanced. Overextending yourself to meet others' expectations or demands often leads to frustration, resentment, and burnout. Setting boundaries is not about shutting people out, it is about ensuring that your interactions are built on mutual respect and understanding. To set clear boundaries, the first step is self-awareness. You must know what you value, what you need, and what you are willing to tolerate. This requires taking the time to reflect on your feelings and experiences. For example, if you consistently feel drained after certain interactions, it may be a sign that your boundaries are being crossed. By identifying these patterns, you can start to define the limits that protect your emotional and physical well-being. Communicating boundaries is the next crucial step. This involves expressing your needs and limits to others in a direct yet respectful manner. While this may feel uncomfortable at first, it is important to remember that clear communication prevents misunderstandings and sets the tone for healthier relationships. For instance, if you need uninterrupted time to focus on work, you might say, "I need a couple of hours without interruptions to finish this project. I'll be happy to talk after that." Statements like these are not about rejecting others, but about asserting your needs in a way that fosters mutual respect. Enforcing boundaries is equally important. It is not enough to articulate your limits, you must also take action when they are disregarded. This might mean saying no to requests that overextend you or stepping away from situations that compromise your well-being. Enforcing boundaries is not about being rigid or punitive, it is about holding yourself and others accountable to the standards you have set. Each time you uphold a boundary, you reinforce your self-respect and teach others how to interact with you. Boundaries also require consistency. If you allow others to cross your limits occasionally, it sends a mixed message and can weaken the integrity of your boundaries. Consistency does not mean being inflexible, it means being clear about what matters to you and adhering to it as much as possible. This steadiness builds trust and reliability in your relationships and ensures that your boundaries are respected over time. One of the most empowering aspects of setting boundaries is the freedom it brings. By defining and protecting your limits, you free yourself from the pressure to constantly please others or meet unrealistic expectations. This freedom allows you to focus on what truly matters: your goals, passions, and well-being. It also creates space for deeper and more fulfilling relationships, as the people in your life learn to value and respect you for who you are. While setting boundaries can feel daunting, especially if you are accustomed to prioritizing others' needs over your own, it is a skill that becomes easier with practice. Each step you take toward asserting your limits builds confidence and resilience. Over time, you will find that boundaries not only protect your peace of mind, but also enhance your relationships by fostering mutual respect and understanding. Ultimately, setting clear boundaries is an act of self-care and empowerment. It is a way of affirming your worth and ensuring that your time, energy, and emotions are invested in ways that align with your values. By setting boundaries, you create a life that honors both yourself and the people around you. It is not about shutting others out, but about creating the conditions for connection, respect, and growth. You said, Project Inner Strength, expend it in 600 words about this speech without heading. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Projecting inner strength is not about dominating others or exuding an air of invincibility. Rather, it is about embodying a quiet confidence and self-assuredness that comes from knowing and honoring who you are. Inner strength arises from resilience, self-awareness, and a commitment to living authentically. It is not an outward display designed to impress, but an inward state that radiates naturally when you are aligned with your values and grounded in your self-worth. One of the key aspects of inner strength is resilience, the ability to navigate challenges with grace and determination. Life is filled with uncertainty, and the strength to adapt and persevere is what allows you to overcome obstacles without losing sight of your goals or your identity. Resilience is not about suppressing emotions or pretending that difficulties don't affect you. Instead, it is about acknowledging your feelings, learning from your experiences, and moving forward with a sense of purpose. This kind of strength is deeply attractive because it signals to others that you can handle adversity without being overwhelmed by it. Another important element of inner strength is self-awareness. To project inner strength, you must first understand yourself, your values, beliefs, and priorities. This understanding provides a foundation for confidence because it allows you to make decisions that are true to who you are. When you know what matters to you, you are less likely to be swayed by external pressures or the opinions of others. This clarity not only empowers you, but also inspires those around you, as people are naturally drawn to individuals who act with conviction and authenticity. Inner strength is also closely tied to the ability to set and uphold boundaries. When you respect your own limits, you communicate to others that you value yourself and expect the same from them. This does not mean being inflexible or unyielding, rather, it means being clear about what you need to thrive and maintaining those standards even in the face of pushback. Upholding boundaries requires courage and consistency, both of which are hallmarks of inner strength. By doing so, you demonstrate to others that you are not willing to compromise your well-being or integrity to accommodate their demands. A vital yet often overlooked aspect of projecting inner strength is the willingness to be vulnerable. Strength is not about pretending to have all the answers or never showing emotion. It is about being honest with yourself and others about your experiences, fears, and aspirations. Vulnerability, when paired with authenticity, creates a powerful sense of connection and trust. It shows that you are secure enough in yourself to share your truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. This openness invites others to do the same, fostering deeper and more meaningful relationships. Another way to project inner strength is through calmness and composure. In moments of tension or conflict, the ability to remain centered and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively is a clear indicator of inner strength. This kind of presence demonstrates that you are in control of yourself even when external circumstances are uncertain or challenging. Calmness does not mean suppressing emotions. It means allowing yourself to process them in a way that is constructive rather than destructive. This steadiness not only benefits you but also has a grounding effect on those around you. Inner strength is ultimately about living in alignment with your values and embracing your true self. It is not about perfection or invincibility, but about authenticity and resilience. When you project inner strength, you create an aura of confidence and self-respect that inspires trust and admiration. People are drawn to individuals who exude this kind of energy because it signals that they are secure in themselves and capable of navigating life's challenges with grace. In projecting inner strength, you also empower others to do the same. Your example shows that it is possible to live authentically, set boundaries, and embrace vulnerability without compromising your sense of self. Inner strength is a quiet but powerful force that enhances every aspect of your life, from your relationships to your personal growth. By cultivating and projecting this strength, you create a foundation for a life of purpose, connection, and fulfillment. Allowing vulnerability is one of the most courageous and transformative acts you can embrace in life. While often misunderstood as a weakness, vulnerability is, in truth, a profound strength. It involves opening yourself up to the world, sharing your true self without guarantees of acceptance or reciprocation. Vulnerability is the foundation of authenticity, trust, and meaningful connection. It requires courage to face the possibility of rejection or judgment. But it is through this openness that we experience the richest and most fulfilling aspects of life. At its core, vulnerability is about being honest with yourself and others. It's the willingness to say, "This is who I am, with all my imperfections, fears, and dreams." When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you are choosing to drop the masks you wear to protect yourself from criticism or rejection. Instead, you embrace the risk of being seen as you truly are. This honesty is not only liberating for you, but also deeply inspiring for those around you. It invites others to meet you on a deeper, more authentic level. Allowing vulnerability is essential for building trust in relationships. Trust is not formed through perfection or invulnerability, but through shared experiences of openness and understanding. When you reveal your true thoughts and feelings, you create a space where others feel safe to do the same. For instance, admitting when you're struggling or asking for help shows that you are human, and it encourages others to reciprocate with their own vulnerabilities. This exchange fosters deeper connections that are grounded in empathy and mutual respect. One of the most challenging aspects of vulnerability is the fear of judgment or rejection. Society often teaches us to present a polished, invulnerable facade to the world, emphasizing strength and self-sufficiency. However, this approach can create emotional barriers that prevent genuine connection. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you challenge these societal norms and embrace the idea that imperfection is not something to be hidden, but something to be celebrated. Vulnerability is a reminder that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and acceptance. Being vulnerable also allows for growth and self-discovery. When you are honest about your fears and insecurities, you gain a clearer understanding of yourself and your needs. This self-awareness is the first step toward personal development. Vulnerability teaches you to confront your emotions rather than suppress them, helping you to process experiences more deeply and learn from them. By facing what makes you uncomfortable, you grow stronger and more resilient. Vulnerability is also closely linked to courage. It takes immense bravery to reveal parts of yourself that feel raw or uncertain. This courage, however, is what makes vulnerability so powerful. When you step into vulnerability, you are telling the world that you are not afraid to be seen. This act of courage not only transforms your relationship with yourself, but also sets an example for others. Your willingness to be open encourages those around you to embrace their own vulnerabilities, creating a ripple effect of authenticity and connection. Importantly, allowing vulnerability does not mean abandoning all boundaries. It is not about sharing every detail of your life indiscriminately. Instead, it's about discerning when and where to be vulnerable, choosing moments that align with your values and relationships. Healthy vulnerability is intentional and balanced. It respects your boundaries while fostering genuine connection. The rewards of allowing vulnerability are immense. It deepens relationships, builds trust, and creates a sense of belonging. It allows you to live authentically, free from the pressure of maintaining a facade. It teaches you that you are enough even with your imperfections. And it reminds you that true connection is not about perfection, but about showing up as your whole, unfiltered self. Ultimately, allowing vulnerability is an act of empowerment. It is a way of reclaiming your humanity and embracing the beautiful, messy, and complex reality of being alive. By choosing to be vulnerable, you open yourself up to the full spectrum of life's experiences, the joys, the pains, and the profound connections that make it all worthwhile. You said, value yourself beyond approval. Expend it in 600 words about this speech without headening. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Valuing yourself beyond approval is a profound shift in perspective that liberates you from the constant need for validation from others. It's about recognizing your inherent worth, independent of external opinions, praise, or criticism. This approach to self-worth allows you to live authentically, confidently, and with a sense of inner peace. Rather than seeking validation to feel good about yourself, you ground your value in who you are and the unique contributions you bring to the world. Many people grow up internalizing the idea that their value is tied to how others perceive them. Whether it's striving to meet the expectations of family, friends, or society, the desire for approval can become a powerful driving force. While recognition and acceptance are natural human desires, basing your self-worth entirely on them can lead to an exhausting and unfulfilling cycle. When you depend on others' approval to feel worthy, you give away your power, making your sense of self vulnerable to the changing opinions and judgments of those around you. Valuing yourself beyond approval begins with self-awareness. It requires looking inward and identifying the beliefs, qualities, and values that make you who you are. This self-reflection helps you recognize that your worth is not defined by achievements, appearance, or others' opinions, but by the unique essence of your being. When you start to see yourself as valuable simply for existing, you free yourself from the pressure to constantly prove your worth. A key part of this journey is practicing self-compassion. Instead of being your harshest critic, you learn to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a close friend. Self-compassion allows you to embrace your imperfections without judgment, and to see mistakes as opportunities for growth, rather than evidence of inadequacy. By fostering a compassionate relationship with yourself, you build a foundation of self-worth that is unshaken by external criticism or rejection. Living beyond the need for approval also means letting go of people-pleasing tendencies. When you prioritize others' opinions over your own truth, you often sacrifice your needs, desires, and authenticity. Valuing yourself means setting boundaries, saying no when necessary, and making choices that align with your well-being and values. It's about understanding that you cannot control how others perceive you, and that their opinions often reflect their own experiences and biases rather than an objective truth about you. Another essential aspect is cultivating a mindset of intrinsic motivation. Rather than seeking validation from external sources, you focus on doing things because they are meaningful or fulfilling to you. Whether it's pursuing a passion, developing a skill, or making a difference in the lives of others, intrinsic motivation shifts your focus from what others think to what genuinely brings you joy and purpose. This shift creates a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment that no amount of external approval can replicate. Valuing yourself beyond approval also deepens your relationships. When you no longer rely on others to validate your worth, you can approach connections with a sense of completeness rather than neediness. This allows you to engage with others authentically and to build relationships based on mutual respect and understanding rather than on a desire for validation. People are naturally drawn to those who exude confidence and self-assuredness, making this mindset beneficial not only to your personal growth but also to the quality of your connections. Breaking free from the need for approval is not about rejecting feedback or isolating yourself. Constructive feedback and healthy connections are valuable and necessary parts of life. However, the difference lies in approaching these interactions from a place of self-worth rather than dependence. You can listen to others' perspectives without letting them define you. You can appreciate praise without needing it to feel whole. Ultimately, valuing yourself beyond approval is about reclaiming your power. It's about recognizing that your worth is not something you need to earn or prove it is already yours. By embracing this truth, you liberate yourself from the constraints of others' opinions and step into a life of authenticity, confidence, and self-respect. This is not only a gift to yourself but also an inspiration to others, showing that true strength and fulfillment come from within. ChatGPT